Welcome to The Explainer. So here's a question that's been debated for centuries. How do the Old and New Testaments actually fit together? I mean, are they two totally different books, or is it all one big story? Well, today we're going to dive into how one of the most influential thinkers in history, John Calvin, tackled that exact problem.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the big question itself. Then we'll see how Christ was sort of foreshadowed in the shadows, you could say. After that, we'll look at how the gospel brought everything into the light, like a sunrise. We'll also touch on the figures who connect the two eras, and then wrap it all up with what this means for believers today. Let's get into it.
All right, first up, a tale of two testaments. We gotta frame the problem here, right? Before we can get to Calvin's answer, we really need to understand the question he was wrestling with. So, you know how sometimes the Old and New Testaments can feel, well, disconnected? Almost like they're telling two completely different stories about two different gods? For Calvin, that's a huge mistake. He was convinced, absolutely convinced, that it's all one single continuous story. It's about one promise that's just being slowly revealed over a long, long time. Okay, so if it really is one story, that brings up a pretty obvious question, doesn't it? How in the world did people in the Old Testament, we're talking Abraham, the prophets, all of them, how did they know about Christ, centuries before he was even born? Calvin's explanation for this is pretty cool. He quotes the Apostle Peter, basically saying that the ancient folks, they had real access to God's grace, for sure. But their experience was different. It was limited. Think of it like this. They just got a slight taste of it, while we get to enjoy the whole thing. And this slide really helps visualize what he's getting at. The people back then, they saw a shadowed outline, kind of like seeing a figure in the distance on a foggy day. You know someone's there, but it's blurry, indistinct. But for believers after Christ, it's like that person has walked right out of the fog and is standing right in front of you, clear as day. You see the full splendor.
And this is so important. For someone like Abraham, this hope wasn't just some vague feeling. It was real. The promise was solid. He rejoiced in it. The only difference was the clarity. It's like he was looking through a telescope at something on the horizon. It's definitely there, but it's just really, really far away. So all of this is building up to something, right? This leads us to the main event, the big turning point in the whole story, the arrival of the gospel. And with it, a whole new level of clarity. Calvin just loves this prophecy from Malachi about the Sun of Righteousness rising. He uses it as this amazing metaphor. See, for him, the world before Christ wasn't in total darkness. It was more like that pre-dawn twilight, You can see, but not perfectly. Then the gospel arrives and bam, it's the sun itself rising up and just flooding everything with light. And that right there, that's the heart of Calvin's definition of the gospel. It's not some new mystery, not at all. It's the clear manifestation of the old mystery. It takes what was only hinted at in the shadows and puts it right out there for everyone to see. And this verse from 2 Corinthians just nails it. It's this huge shift from a veiled, kind of hidden understanding to seeing God's glory directly in the face of Jesus Christ. The veil is gone. It's been pulled back. Okay, so if the gospel brings all this amazing new clarity, what about the law? The stuff that came before. Did the gospel just get rid of it? Toss it out? This is a super important point for Calvin. He says no, the gospel doesn't just replace the law. It's not like swapping out an old phone for a new one. It's a fulfillment. It gives, as he puts it, substance to the shadows. All those promises in the law, they were like blueprints pointing to a building. And the gospel? That's the actual building, finally constructed. So Calvin actually sees this clear progression, this path to clarity. First, you've got the law, which was like the basic training, the rudiments for God's people. Then come the prophets, who acted as witnesses, always pointing forward. And then you get this really interesting figure, John the Baptist, who's like the bridge connecting the two eras. And finally, the gospel arrives and brings everything into sharp focus. Yeah, John the Baptist is such a key figure here. He's not really a prophet in the old sense, but he's not an apostle of the new covenant either. Calvin says he had this special intermediate office. He was the guy on the hilltop shouting that the dawn was coming, just moments before that sun of righteousness finally broke over the horizon. Okay, so this all brings us to a really practical final question. If Christ fulfilled everything, if the sun has fully risen, what's left for us today? I mean, is the story over? Did we miss the ending? Well, Calvin had a big argument about this with some other thinkers of his day, like a guy named Servetus. Their view was basically, yep, story's over. With the gospel, all the promises are totally finished and we possess them fully right now. So for them, there's literally nothing left to wait for. Calvin's response? No way. That's a huge mistake. He pushes back hard, pointing to what the apostles Paul and John said, our salvation is hidden in hope. What does that mean? It means, yeah, we have salvation in Christ, but our full, complete experience of it, well, it's not totally visible yet. It's hidden away in hope. So this is the really cool part. For Calvin, the Christian life is lived in this tension. On the one hand, we have all these amazing spiritual benefits right now, in the present. We pass from death to life. But on the other hand, the full enjoyment of all that, it's still hidden, guarded by hope. We embrace Christ clad in his own promises. It means we're holding on to the certainty of what's coming, sealed by the Spirit. We're walking by faith, not by sight. And that leaves us with this incredible paradox to chew on. In Calvin's view, we have the fulfillment, but what are we still waiting for? The story is both finished and unfinished. The promise is fulfilled in Christ, absolutely, and yet we're still waiting, living in hope for that final, glorious chapter to be revealed.